We've come so far, yet still the work is not complete. For even I know not the fate of Lo, but the hour of an update is upon us.
So it's been several months since my last update on Lo, my dungeon crawl board game, and I'm long overdue for an update. So here it is. What the heck happened? I think a couple things have happened. The first is severe creative burnout, like full stop, zero motivation, zero ambition, zero interest in working on any hobby projects or creative projects or passion projects. And that was coupled with severe internet burnout, all content consumption and hobby related stuff. And I think the combination of these two very distinct burnouts that I experienced at the same time led to a hard stop on all of my hobby work, all my creative work. I was beating myself up about my lack of creative output. And then at some point, I just kind of let it go because I'm like, life is short and I'm not going to get depressed about not working on a board game design that may or may never ship. So then I was like, well, how do I want to spend my time? And for the last few months, I've just really been engaged with the world outside. I got over a lot of old running injuries, got back to trail running, fixed up my bike and started doing big rides out in the backcountry up in Northern California, and bought a gravel bike which extends my range and allows me to get even farther up into the mountains, and really just having real world adventures in my free time. All that time outside was restorative, it was adventurous, and it kept me off the internet. It kept me from just getting lost in endless content consumption. And now I'm kind of getting back into the headspace of making things. You know, originally this game was just going to be a sandbox dungeon crawl game. And then at some point I decided to release a 3-scenario campaign just to sort of show off what the game engine is capable of. The campaign sort of hijacked the whole game design process. The game has gone through 2 different closed beta tests where I've sent out multiple copies of the game to people all over the world who play tested the game for me. And, you know, the core game engine had some issues, but a lot of the issues pertained to the scenarios themselves and trying to deal with little corner cases that come up within the scenario specific rules. So even a lot of the bug fixing was me trying to fix scenarios instead of me trying to hone the game engine. So the big question that I've been asking myself this week is, what can I strip out of this game to make it shippable without sacrificing the original intent? And so this is what I've come up with. The biggest difference between what I have and what I may end up with is stripping out the campaign and just going full on sandbox mode. And that's a tough, big decision to make. I'm never going to be able to write and perfect a series of scenarios for each set that I want to release. I really just want the game engine itself to be a framework for interesting emergent stories. This is just going to make the game a lot simpler to test and finish and ship. First of all, it would come in the small stout box. I think there's going to end up being 5 slugs of 3/4 inch counters, and so there's 15 counters on each slug, 48 tiles total. There's still gonna be at least a dozen monsters. I could potentially add some of the monsters that I ripped out back into the game now that I have another 15 counters that I can add. So I could add as many as 15 more monsters like singletons, or I could add a couple more group monsters, or I could just add more zombie or skeleton warrior cultist counters. So there will be item cards, discovery cards, spell cards. I think the cards are pretty much done. I think the map tiles are pretty much done. Just need to add a few more. I think the monster cards are pretty much done. I could add some more monsters to the game. I think the hero cards are pretty much done and working properly. So if the game ends up being just a sandbox game, I still want to keep the adventure lot records, because what happens is you'll go in and explore a location, and it's going to terminate whenever you draw those terminus tiles. So you may get only 2 or 3 map tiles into a location before it just ends at a dead end. At that point, if you make it back out alive, then that's sort of like a save point, and you can tally up the XP that you've earned. You can play village mode and buy equipment or upgrade your character, and then you just go into a brand new randomly generated location. So every time you survive a location and make it back out, it's like a save point, and you update your adventure record. So in that way, the game is not necessarily a one and done. It's more like kind of an ongoing dungeon crawl where every single level that you complete allows you to go back, rest, recuperate, resupply, and then go back down. One thing I'm going to do is add staircase map tiles. So if you're playing with like tile set A and you uncover the staircase from that tile set, it will lead you down into another tile set. So you could start in the temple, find a staircase, descend, and now you're in tile set B or C or D. You can even randomly roll to figure out which tile set you're going to connect it up to. So staircases are always going to lead down into the next level. I personally think that Low retains all the cool things that makes Low what it is. Now, the only big question mark is the rule book. If I find out that it's just not possible to do a rule book, then I may have to go back up to the bigger size box just so I can include a bigger size rule book. Or I guess one option would be to just make the rule book a PDF only. Some people are going to have a huge problem with that, and some people may not care at all. 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, you definitely have to ship the rule book with the game. But nowadays, with all these app-assisted games, you can't play the game without downloading an app anyway. So I'm not sure what the difference is between downloading an app to play the game and downloading a PDF to read the rules. So that's something I gotta think through. I would prefer to have the rules included with the game, but one option is to forego that for a smaller box. I do like a smaller form factor. This is very tiny for the type of dungeon crawl game that I'm trying to fit inside of it. I feel like if I continue down this road, I can actually ship this game in a reasonable amount of time. If I continue to try to fix all the little things, all the little glitches with this version, I'm a little concerned that it's just never going to ship. But this feels shippable in a very reasonable amount of time, and this feels expandable. Like I could see myself releasing more sets with more map tiles, more characters, more monsters, if I'm not writing pre-scripted adventures and have to be tested thoroughly to cover all the corner cases and stuff. Now I'm freed up to just focus on making the game engine itself watertight. Let me know what you think. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have grave concerns? I think anybody that's still following this channel understands that this is really just one random dude posting random updates about a creative project that he's been kind of obsessed with on and off over the last few years. This isn't a Kickstarter. I'm not giving updates to my backers. I'm not appeasing my patrons. This is really just me in my little creative space, doing my little creative project, and for some reason still posting about it. And for some reason, if you're still here, you're curious enough to keep watching. This channel is definitely not an educational channel on how to be a successful game developer. It's almost the opposite. It's kind of a peek into the struggles of an aspiring game developer. I've really enjoyed working on this game for the most part, and I've enjoyed sharing updates on this channel, so I reckon I'll keep doing both for now.